Welcome in from New Orleans. You can even see a little bit of the skyline out the window there. And you could even check out what I wrote from the Superdome today. Some history for the 49ers. Listen to this. First time that they've won a game with their backup quarterback starting since Brock Purdy beat Tom Brady in 2022. Now, Purdy became the starter, obviously, after that. But we would consider Purdy a backup stepping in there after Jimmy Garoppolo went down the week before against the Dolphins. This is another really cool nugget from this game. The 49ers became the first team to win its first two games of a season on the road with two different quarterbacks since the 1988 49ers, who would go on to win the Super Bowl. The 88 49ers did it with Joe Montana in week 1 and Steve Young in week 2. So winning a game with a backup quarterback on the road in the NFL is a big deal. Winning a game with a backup quarterback on the road in the NFL when your defense is renovated, as young as it is for the 49ers, I would argue is an even bigger deal. Starting the season 2-0, despite some of the injury adversity that the 49ers have had, gives us a good indication that this team has the resilience and at least the potential to continually answer some of the issues that dogged it last year. For example, they couldn't close games last year. The first 2 weeks have been all about closing for the 49ers. So the people who didn't understand what they were doing in March and April, well, I think you have a demonstration of what the 49ers might have been doing now. They were getting younger. They were getting faster. And that extra speed, I mean, Bryce Huff roared around the edge today, but that extra little bit has allowed the 49ers to close games at crunch time. The NFL is fascinating because it so often comes down to 3 or 4 plays in a game. There are 3 or 4 high leverage, pivotal junctions in a game that you have to win. And last year, the 49ers were losing a lot of those pivotal junctures, especially at the end of games. Today, they won those pivotal junctures. Mac Jones delivered on third down 8 times today. They converted third and long 5 times today. I mean, that's the sign of good quarterback play. They're able to make their opponent, the New Orleans Saints, pay for some of the 5- and 6-man fronts that they threw at them. We're going to be talking a lot about how the 49ers did that. And we will also be talking about Michael Williams, who is out there making people look a little bit silly for their takes last week. This right here, this is a quick little glimpse into what Michael was able to do today. That's the poor Saints tight end trying to block for Alvin Kamara. Michael Williams, I talk about, what do I always say with Michael Williams? What do I always say with this guy? Length to power. Length to power. That is a wingspan of nearly 7 feet for Michael Williams. That's a wingspan that he is putting to good use. Now, I'm not allowed to show the broadcast video, so we don't want to get copyrighted on this video. So I just show you the screenshot instead. Michael tossed that tight end back like a rag doll at a critical moment. This is with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then he just drove the running back to the ground. So the 49ers thought that Michael Williams was the best edge defender in the 2025 draft class. That was a very good defense of the edge from Michael Williams. Then there was Kyle Shanahan speaking to the 49ers in the locker room. There's a lot I want you to watch in this speech, and I'm going to break it down right after. But let's take it to the 49ers social media. Thanks for this. And a peek into the locker room here in New Orleans.
Hey, guys, hell of a game, man.
Let me put that on.
Hey, guys, hell of a game, man. Hey, you talk about all 3 phases contributing and being a part of that win. Like offense into the second quarter. All right, finishing with the TD. Big time. All right, we come out, we turn it over. You guys get it right back. All right, Fred, you get that big turnover. Yeah. It only counts if we score. I think, JJ, you got the house call on that drive, 40-yarder. Hey, guys, also, can't say enough about teams, man. All right, those 2 punts at the end, Timo, big time. 2 times that we had to pin him back. I think one was at the 10, one was at the 6. They had to go on a long drive to finish it. All D ball, but who was the finisher? Huff?
Hey man, it's a great team win. I appreciate y'all boys. Let's keep going.
Hey, normal week and we're going back home. Hey, playing the Levi's.
All right. So first things first, did you guys notice how much fun it seems that Kyle Shanahan is having again? You could see it in his eyes. He's just so much more relaxed. He's invigorated this year. I don't know if I've ever seen Kyle Shanahan having this much fun, because early on, before all the stress had piled up, they weren't any good in 2017 and 2018. And then, by 2019, it became high stress every week just because the ascent was so meteoric. Maybe then you could say that the energy level was what it was now. But it started to turn into a drag, and obviously in 2020, drag through 2021, despite how good the 49ers were. And then they just had such high expectations over the course of 2022 and 2023 that it was hard to have fun. And then obviously nobody had fun in the 2025 season. So the fact that Kyle Shanahan is getting to enjoy the benefits of a youth infusion on the roster right now, and the 49ers are 2-0, I think that's put him into a lot more relaxed mood where it looks like he's truly having fun again. And that's good for everybody, because he's going to call better plays if he's in a better mood. He's going to be more on his game if he is more invigorated. He's found that fountain of coaching youth, if you will. But there's more that I need to show you. Bryce Huff, the 49ers closer, there is a statistic that I try to show you every week so we can gauge exactly how powerful the 49ers pass rush was. Bryce Huff essentially broke the meter this week. This is the average distance from the quarterback. This is calculated by the GPS chips in players' shoulder pads. Bryce Huff, as you could tell, Bosa was closer than average to the QB. Bryce Huff was absurdly close on average to Spencer Rattler. And then, of course, he got so close on the very last play of this game that he knocked the football away. Fumble on 4th and 2. He was the closer. The 49ers had to get a 6-out save. I told Nick Bosa, he gave me a hard time that I picked against the 49ers in week 1. Obviously, I didn't pick them to lose this week because I thought they'd beat the Saints. I thought they'd win by 6, though, not 5. I didn't think they'd win 26-21. And, I mean, it was a nail-biter at then. I thought I saw that coming, but Bryce Huff really made sure that the door was shut. And I was joking around with Nick. It was a 6-out save. You pitched the 8th inning. Bryce Huff pitched the 9th. And basically, if we're going to extend this baseball analogy, Bryce Huff pitched the 9th and struck out the side on 9 pitches. He had 5 pressures today, and he was an average of 3.24 yards away from the quarterback. When you see a graph like this, it's all about the 49ers constricting the pocket. That's how they rushed this year. It's not a jailbreak rush this year for the 49ers. They're constricting the pocket because they don't have dominant defensive tackles. They're developing Alfred Collins and CJ West. They're not at that level yet, though, of being a DeForest Buckner and an Eric Armstead. So the 49ers are coming with some limitations right now defensively as they grow. Their strength is on the edge, where Mykel Williams is a monster against the run. If you want to see it again, if you need evidence of that again, here you go. That's Mykel Williams just doing work. I mean, look, he's moved the point of attack 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, first of all. Makes the tackle 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's an elite edge setter already against the run. 49ers did so well with him against Seattle. They weren't able to bounce it to the outside. And today, at big moments, Mykel showed up again. But he's a strength in terms of his run defense. And it's really funny that people weren't impressed enough with his box score last week. But this tape actually matters a little bit more to me than box score. You've got Mykel. You have Nick Bosa, who, again, was making big stop after big stop. He had near 10 tackles today for the 49ers. And then you've got Bryce Huff. Then you have this. You got somebody pushing the pocket with speed to power, and that's what Bryce Huff does. way more often than not. 5 pressures is no joke in this football game. So the 49ers might be a little bit weaker up the middle at defensive tackle. I get it. That puts a little bit more pressure on their linebackers. That means that their rushing allowance is going to be higher than some of their dominant defenses of the past. I mean, the 49ers gave up 120 rushing yards today. I'm not saying the run defense was great, but they have enough in the tank to deliver when it really matters at those high leverage spots. And that's what happened today. And not only that, not only do they have the resources, not only have they gotten a little bit faster, younger, and that was really needed after being an aging defense last year, but the 49ers have the coordinator, Robert Saleh, who's able to dial stuff up when they truly need it. We've seen 2 weeks of this now, right? We have seen 2 weeks of this now. They have come through in the clutch defensively in 2 straight weeks. That's a big departure from last year, and they've also been able to win with a backup quarterback, which is something they weren't able to do in 2024. They weren't even able to do that in 2023. They only played one game, though, with a backup. That was Sam Darnold. They lost at the very end of Week 18 to the Rams, but everything was already locked up, so it wasn't damaging for the 49ers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the concerns. 120 rushing yards given up. Yes, the run defense does need to be better. Listen, the Saints game planned for the 49ers with actual game tape from the regular season, something the Seahawks didn't have the benefit of having last week. So there's a reason I think that New Orleans, they had an offensive advantage that the Seahawks did not have against San Francisco last week. On top of that, though, I think that the 49ers just have to be ready for the natural growing pains that come with starting 3 rookies on the defensive side of the ball. It's inevitable that these guys are going to have some gaffes. It's inevitable that these guys are going to get beat probably a little bit more often than usual. So, I mean, we saw it today. Marquise Siegel didn't have as good of a day. Upton Stout was burned a couple times, was beaten a couple times. We saw a couple penalties. I know people are going to vociferously argue against the Upton Stout illegal contact. I will also say, I think D. Winters counts as youth. It's his first year starting. I thought that was a bad personal foul that gave the Falcons some life. The key is, though, even if you're going to give up those kind of mistakes, you need to have the veteran presence. You need to have the A-list pillars, which is how the 49ers built this team, to make up for them at crucial moments. I always talk about high leverage spots in these games, right? The 49ers might have suffered a turnover today. Mac Jones was hit by Demario Davis, and he fumbled the football. Mac said that he held on to it too long. That was my appraisal at the time as well. That might have happened coming out of halftime, and it might have been a damaging play, but not too long after that, guess who got the ball back for the 49ers? Yes, none other than Fred Warner. I mean, what a play. And, I got a couple stats on Fred Warner. This is the 49ers history part of things because Warner is making it as we speak. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember Patrick Willis. Well, first off, Fred Warner, the play before Bryce Huff delivered the game-winning strip sack and all mayhem broke loose for the 49ers. On the third down before, Fred Warner had an insanely aesthetically pleasing pass breakup. That was his 16th pass breakup with the 49ers, 16th since entering the NFL. That beautiful PBU pushed him past Patrick Willis for the all-time 49ers lead in pass breakups. So you remember how great Patrick Willis was? Fred Warner just broke one of his records. On top of that, before that pass breakup, Fred Warner forced the fumble. Jair Brown, the 49ers started running 3 safety sets. New position for the 49ers. Jair Brown playing a big nickel. I'm going to talk about the implications of that in a little bit. But on the play that Jair was in for big nickel, and he was in for many plays, but on one of the plays that Jair was in for that big nickel spot, he had Alvin Kamara wrapped up, and Fred Warner came in, and Kamara, because, a lazy defense, and maybe last year at times the 49ers were playing lazy defense, would say, oh, Jair's got him wrapped up. We're not going to rally to the football. Let the guy who has him wrapped up finish the tackle. Warner still rallied to Kamara, and I don't think that Kamara was ready to get hit. He's fumbled, I think, only 3 or 4 times. This guy barely fumbles over the course of his career outside of games against the 49ers, but he's now fumbled 4 times when playing the 49ers. Maybe it's because Fred Warner is on the other side. And Warner hustling to the football, not playing like a guy who's content with another mega deal that he just signed to be at the top of the linebacker position, playing like a hungry rookie, drills Kamara, knocks the ball loose. That was Warner's 16th forced fumble of his career. That ties Patrick Willis at the top of the list for 49ers in their entire franchise history. I mean, this is an illustrious franchise. The history does have guys like Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis on it. And here you have Fred Warner at the top, and he's far from done. He's going to take that lead probably this year in terms of forced fumbles, certainly this year in terms of the passes defense. He already did take the lead, but he's going to build on that lead in pass breakup. So you see multiple different pillars of this 49ers team delivering when the chips are down. This is why they have a chance to go a long way this year. I am not saying that they're the best team in the NFC or the NFL at this moment, but the reason that the 49ers have a chance to strike fear into opponents, especially as this season progresses, is because they've got guys like Warner. They've got guys like Bosa. On the offensive side, they have Trent Williams, who wasn't expecting to play today, but then said, you know what? I'm going to deliver, and deliver he did. They've got quarterback depth to get them through some of these injury rough waters. They've got players like Brandon Ayuk returning, and of course, they've got Christian McCaffrey, who can play receiver at an all-pro level on top of his ability to run the football. I mean, they've got a lot of good players, and they have a lot of youthful energy and exuberance. I think that you've now seen it on the field. This is matching exactly how we covered training camp, what we noticed over camp. I would even argue that some of the rookies are helping energize some of the veterans. I think Nick Bosa is playing better football than he did last year. And with that combination, the 49ers, if they can find a good round into health, whether it be in October, November, or December, any of those times, they can become a team that other teams don't want to face. You don't want to face an ascending stock. And I think that all that we could have possibly seen from the 49ers over the first 2 weeks is establishing themselves as a potential ascending stock. And I think that it's really fair to say that they're in that position right now. So let's talk about the Mac Jones, Brock Purdy luxury. This is the San Francisco Standard. The link is in the description. If you guys have not signed up for the San Francisco Standard yet, you absolutely have to. Because who else, by the way, is bringing you good articles, but also bringing you the... Here, let's put this up on the screen. Who else is bringing you some of the best Benedicts, maybe the best Benedict in New Orleans? I'm eating really well here. This was like the sampler Benedicts. There's a fried chicken one on there, crab cake Benedict on there. This was awesome. This is from the Ruby Slipper here in New Orleans. If any of you are in town, I was just out at the bar right now and got a beer with some fans. Some people were asking me where they should eat. Well, I said you should watch the show. I'll give you a good breakfast spot for when you're hungover tomorrow. This is a good opportunity. The Ruby Slipper here in New Orleans. But anyway, I'm giving you food recommendations, and I'm also going to give you article recommendations. And I go deep into the whole Mac Jones thing here because this was really, really fun. First things first, the 49ers, as they're heading out through the tunnel, I took this video. Look at on the right. Do you see that? Do you see that on the right? That's Mac Jones dancing with Kendrick Bourne. We're going to rewind a little bit. Mac Jones dancing with Kendrick Bourne, Diamador Lenore. Brian Robinson Jr. found his way to the front. Trent Williams, of course, with the boombox. So, I mean, first Mac is joking around with Kendrick as they're headed out. I think Mac admitted that he was a little bit nervous, but the way that he plays some of that off and the way that he really develops respect amongst the 49ers locker room is through humor. I mean, the guy's got, and it's in the headline of my article, Mac has swag. Mac got that swag. That's from Kendrick Bourne himself. And he's able to lead a group of men the way that you need a quarterback to lead them in a way that you typically don't see from a backup. And I think that was a really, really big part of how good the 49ers were able to look, despite the fact that there was some definite shorthandedness today. I mean, consider what they overcame. This was a skeleton blocking crew. There was no George Kittle. Kyle Juszczyk suffered a concussion, and he was going to play some tight end to help pick it up for George Kittle. So they elevated Braden Willis off the practice squad. He was wearing the 82. He was filling in. Ben Barch, the starting left guard, got hurt. We know O-line plays all about continuity. They had to toss the rookie Connor Colby in there. And what they were doing is they were playing a team with just running a ton of six-man fronts. The first 2 weeks of this season, the 49ers have faced defenses that schematically will sell out to stop the run. Whenever that happens and they put in those 5-6-man fronts, your quarterback absolutely has to deliver. No questions asked. So last week, Brock Purdy delivered big time against Seattle. He was very, very efficient, even with the 2 interceptions in that game. This week, I thought that they faced maybe even more aggressiveness against the run, and this is what Mac Jones was able to do for the 49ers. Their QB2, the 49ers QB2, was better, more efficient than Spencer Rattler, who was the Saints QB1. I mean, 0.17 EPA per play, it's expected points added per play, is no slouch of a number. For comparison, Brock Purdy last week was 0.41, so he was significantly more efficient than Mac Jones this week. But I think that when you could get this level of production from your backup, you are over the moon. Now, I mean, it's very easy to tell. Anybody who knows what they're watching. Well, I think that most people watching this show, even if you're fairly casual football fans, can say, okay, I understand why Brock Purdy is better than Mac Jones. It comes down to the fact that Purdy is really mobile. That's a really underrated part of his game, but he moves really, really well in ways that Mac Jones simply can't. So there's sacks that Mac Jones takes that Brock Purdy doesn't take. There was the strip sack today that wouldn't have happened had Brock Purdy been at the quarterback position. That probably was the most damaging play of the game for the 49ers offense. But that aside, Mac Jones is still able to throw and execute at this quarterback position at a very, very efficient level. Like he's able to deliver the football to where Kyle Shanahan wants it to be. And I mean, if you just look at the way that the 49ers spread the ball out today, the truth is in the numbers. I mean, Jennings, 10 targets, 5 receptions, 89 yards, 4 catches, 56 yards for Ricky Pearsall, 6 catches, 52 yards for Christian McCaffrey, who capped off that beautiful 2-minute drive where Kyle Shanahan showed they did all the trust in the world in Mac Jones. Christian capped that one off with the touchdown from about, what was it, 13 yards out? Maybe it was a little bit closer. Maybe it was an and goal situation. Yeah, because the 13-yarder that Christian McCaffrey caught or the 14-yarder that he caught was on a 3rd and long on an out pattern. I mean, he was routing up that New Orleans defense. Kendrick Bourne, 3 catches, 32 yards. Jake Tonjes, 4 catches, 31 yards. Luke Farrell, 2 catches, 15 yards. Juszczyk, 1 for 5. Brian Robinson, 1 catch in this game. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different receivers with catches, 10 different receivers with targets. The 49ers ran an extremely diversified game plan, and it was a winning game plan. But the only way that you're able to run something like that is if your quarterback can execute it. And I think that Mac Jones did a great job executing it. Now, he was talking about being a little bit nervous before this game started, but he said that Trent Williams helped him be a lot less nervous. Trent told Mac Jones, listen, man, you just got to go out there and hoop. Just go out there and hoop. Mike, do you have that clip? I need to see that clip. We need to get that clip up one more time. Trent Williams telling Mac Jones to just go out and hoop. I have it here. Never mind, Mike. I have it here. We're going to play Mac Jones and the hoop video from Trent Williams. This was quality stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just like not making it bigger than it is, and like sometimes when you have them, like you fight them, but like you can't really do that. You just got to let them come and figure out how to work through it, and a lot of it's just breathing and slowing down your pulse. And obviously worked on that this off season, and got to continue to grow in that area. But really, the guys around me, like Trent, came up to me. He's like, "You're good, dude. Just go out there and hoop." And I was like, "I got you. I can go hoop." And then once he said that, I was like, "All right, let's play ball." So that was kind of cool.
Mac is like the really funny dad with a little bit of swag and who understands what the kids are talking about at the Labor Day barbecue. You know, he picks up a funny line. He's like, "Oh, he told me to go hoop." I said, all right, yep, let's go hoop. Let's go hoop. And he had this joke to Kendrick Bourne. It was hard to pick out what he said. I posted the video on Twitter, but he was like, hey, that guy looks like your brother or something as they were walking out. So the 49ers are all serious walking out of the tunnel. Mac is probably a little bit nervous. He admitted that he was nervous. He said that Trent Williams really helped him in that regard. But he diffuses the situation and he gets guys on board by like pointing out little fun things and, really well-timed kind of, not necessarily a dad joke, but kind of this humor that feels a little bit out of place, but is completely hilarious, and how it doesn't fully fit. So then it fits perfectly. And then everybody really, really likes Mac. Listen into Kendrick Bourne talking about the boombox and talking about Mac, because I had to ask about both of these things in the locker room.
Yeah, I was excited, bro. Shout out Trent, shout out to the Hyena. Them boys just turned up, man. So I miss that energy, man. Things like that I took for granted. You know what I'm saying? That we're just different here, and I'm just happy to be back around it. Get you going, get your energy going, and just people having the same energy connected. It just makes it even more fun.
Now, related question, Mac, I don't know if you noticed, Mac got in at the front.
Yeah, Mac got that swag now. Don't sleep on him. I saw Kyle talking about his suit and everything, so Mac got that swag. Mac knows what he's doing. He knows how to connect with us, and I think it's super important as a quarterback.
Okay, so I posted that video on my social media, and nobody knows this yet. This is exclusive to my followers, because you can't see who likes a tweet, but I can show you who liked the tweet. I posted that video of Kendrick Bourne saying how he missed the boombox energy, and how, obviously implying that they didn't have that in New Orleans, and all this and all that, and obviously a nostalgic moment for Kendrick Bourne. Well, just have a look at who liked that tweet. Do we have any guesses? Any guesses as to who liked the tweet? I'm just waiting. That was the Kendrick Bourne video that I posted. That's who liked it. Deebo Samuel. It's got to pull at your heartstrings a bit, right? If you've watched 49ers football over the course of the past few seasons, I mean, the memories that these guys have made together, it's felt like a college locker room. And, for people that think I'm just blowing smoke about this, look what guys who leave the building and play elsewhere say. I mean, Deebo still follows me because I think he still wants to know how the 49ers are doing. And Deebo is here liking the tweet about Kendrick Bourne missing the energy of the boombox walkout. And Kendrick Bourne got right back to the front of the line for the boombox walkout. One more time, just the start of Kendrick's answer. You could just see how damn happy this guy is. Let's listen to his. I start asking about the boombox. You hear my voice at the very second, and he just lights up.
Yeah, I was excited, bro. Shout out Trent, shout out to the Hyena.
One more time.
The boombox line.
Yeah, I was excited, bro. Shout out Trent, shout out to the Hyena. Them boys just turned up, man. So I miss that energy, man. Things like
I miss that energy. So they have that, and you know who embraced it? And I showed you with the video is, oops, that's the wrong one. I want to play this one. I showed you with the video is Mac Jones. Mac Jones himself is sitting there dancing out in the front. And I just, these are all little clues that you get when you're around a team, and everybody at this level is a good player, right? Everybody at this level is fast or is accurate or whatever, has a good attribute. How do you get a team to perform better than the other 31 or even than the other one on the other side of you? Because that's a team filled with good players in the New Orleans Saints. It is about building some of those connections and some of that chemistry in your building. So the guys play together. And I think, and that way the sum is going to be greater. The sum of the parts is going to be greater than just the parts themselves. That's the goal when you're trying to build a very strong football team. So anyway, that was the gist of my article up on the Athletic, or not the Athletic, the San Francisco Standard. A little misspeak. It's been a while since I've been with the Athletic. Matt Barrows, Vic Tafer over the Athletic. But this is up on the San Francisco Standard. You should check it out. Support this channel by subscribing over there as well. Matt got that swag out of the 49ers backup QB, came full circle and went over the Saints. As I told you at the very start of this show, this is the first time the 49ers had won with a backup quarterback helming this team since beating Tom Brady in 2022. That was Brock Purdy over Tom Brady in 2022. And also, this is the first time in the NFL that a team has won 2 road games to open the season with 2 different QBs since the 1988 49ers with Joe Montana and Steve Young. And yes, Tim has good stuff on the Standard too. We should even go check out Tim's article. If you sign up for the Standard, you get obviously all of our articles, but I think it is the best 49ers coverage that there is. So here's a good one. Jair Brown did okay today. The 49ers have implemented a new defensive package. Jair Brown is now playing big nickel. He takes Luke Gifford, who's the third linebacker, off the field in certain nickel situations. So there's a small nickel and a big nickel. Small nickel is Upton Stout. He's only 5'8". Big nickel, this is like kind of a glorified linebacker who can also cover. I think it's perfect for Jair Brown because he's not as fast as the 2 other safeties. Marquise Siegel, 4'3", Jason Pinnock, 4'4". Malik Mustafa is going to be back at some point. He's also faster than Jair Brown. So how do you use Jair if he's a little bit slower? Well, you apply him against the run. He's a little bit of a bigger body who can still cover. Jair actually talked a little bit about this today in the 49ers locker room. Why don't we have a listen into what he said?
And what was the game plan there?
We put in a new package this week, big nickel. And coach wanted to see me there. Yeah. So it was a rotation. Upton's still the nickel though. Gifford's still the base. So we're rotating a little bit, trying to give him some different looks.
Yeah, how did you like it?
I like it. I like the spot. You know, I feel like it's natural for me. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're getting your momentum back, kind of getting back into it?
Yeah. Really, just getting back into it, man. And, I'm ready to go. I'm always ready.
So he had the great tip play, as we see Charlene say at the bottom early on. That was coming out of big nickel. But the other play was when he was tackling Kamara and Fred Warner came in and forced the fumble, which was, I would say, a game-changing play. I mean, possession changes are so massive. When you talk about football and you talk about the few plays that have such an outsized impact, it almost always circles back to takeaways and giveaways. And Fred Warner delivered one of those massive takeaways. Now, we did the locker room speech from Kyle Shanahan. We could shout out to the 49ers special teams in this game. 2 punts from Thomas Morstead pushed the Saints way back late in this game. And it was also the good coverage for the 49ers. This meant a lot to Thomas Morstead because he's been around forever, right? I mean, he's 39. And from 2009 to 2020, so that means he even punted against the 49ers. But from let me get back to the first part of that thought. From 2009 to 2020, Thomas Morstead punted for the Saints. So he was back home today. That means he even punted against the 49ers in 2011 in that epic divisional round playoff game at Candlestick. Thomas said today on social media that this was his last time in the Superdome, which leads us to believe that this might be his very last season punting in the NFL. So this is a guy who's been able to last in the league for damn near 2 decades, was with the Saints for 11 years, comes back to the Superdome, and not very often do we say a punter had a big impact on the game. I think that those 2 punts, when the 49ers offense wasn't able to move the ball at the end, Jennings dropped the pass, and I think they went 3 and out after some good run defense from the Saints. The 49ers and the defense was feeling like it was leaking some oil for the 49ers, right? They needed not 1, but 2 really good punts. And anybody who's been watching this team over the course of the past several seasons knows that that should not be expected and definitely not taken for granted. I mean, the 49ers special teams has been a disaster for a long time now, right? And Thomas Morstead delivered, and the coverage unit delivered twice, and they got New Orleans back inside their 10 two times. And that really, really helped set up the closers. That set up Nick Bosa, and that set up Bryce Huff to finish out this game and give us the best stat of the evening for San Francisco, which is this one right here. We're going to get it back up on the screen. Bryce Huff on average 3.24 yards away from the quarterback. Just really good team football from the 49ers. You know, I was saying there was a certain point there where the defense really started leaking oil. They gave up those 120 rushing yards. Rattler was making some of the 49ers rookies look a little foolish with some of his jukes downfield. And I was saying, you know what? Like, this is to be expected. They've game planned. The 49ers defense is young, growing pains. The offense is going to have to finish this game. That's what I said. And then the offense failed to finish the game twice. I mean, the offense had two chances. They couldn't finish it. And so then the defense had to take the torch back. It's like hot potato. Who wants to finish the game? And how cool was it that it was the defense that slammed the door shut for the second straight week? And it was defense assisted by special teams. Speaking of special teams, Eddie Pinheiro. Everybody raise your hand if you thought that the missed extra point was doomsday for the 49ers. I'll raise my hand. That was really funny. Here you are. You finally have run a kicker out of town. The Jake Moody experience finally ends. And in comes Eddie Pinheiro. And the first thing that he does, even though he's the fourth most accurate field goal kicker of all time, number 4 in percentage, the first thing he does is misses an extra point. You could not make this up, right? Like, raise your hand. I see people raising their hands. Did you think this was it? Do you think it was over at that point? I mean, I joked with Danny G, who's great on Twitter. He's probably one of the most sane 49ers voices. I joked with Danny that it was in the script. The 49ers just had to do it for the brand. I mean, how could you have a perfect special teams performance if you're the 49ers? You're not allowed to. You know, you have to build in some of that drama, and they did. But then Eddie made 2 field goals, split the uprights on both of them, and all of a sudden, I think Kyle Shanahan is feeling a whole lot more comfortable with his kicking game. And the punting game was good today. I don't think that the 49ers did much return-wise today, but if your coverage units are doing well and your field goal kicker is splitting the uprights on his tries, then it was a good day for San Francisco's special teams. So Lulu says, play the Shanahan response on Eddie in the press conference. I was in the locker room hanging out there talking to some of the guys. Mike, do you have Shanahan on Eddie Pinheiro? If Mike doesn't have it available right now, we could probably grab it for the show tomorrow. We're going to have plenty of content. We're still here in New Orleans, as you can see. There's downtown. You can see the skyline. I can't see the Superdome from here. It's on the other side of that hotel over there, but I was a quick walk away from the Superdome, which I was really, really impressed with. A really cool stadium. Just has a feeling of history there. I mentioned this during the stadium tour earlier. The governor of Louisiana, when they were planning to build a stadium here in New Orleans, because they used to play at the old Tulane Stadium, the governor of Louisiana went to Houston, to the Astrodome, which was like a wonder of the modern world at the time. And they had AstroTurf and all that, right? And he said, I want one of these, but bigger in New Orleans. And they built one, a bigger Astrodome here in New Orleans. It's called the Superdome. The initial playing surface, it's been artificial throughout that building's history, was called Mardi Gras instead of Mardi Gras. So now it's not Mardi Gras anymore. It's something else out on that field. So, I mean, just cool history in that stadium. It opened up in 1975, so it's been around for 50 years. I had never been because I didn't travel to cover that 2019 game. I was actually in the San Francisco Saloon in LA. I did a big article on how 49ers fans watched games in LA. Unfortunately, the saloon is no more in LA. That was an epic spot. Shout out to those of you who used to frequent that great establishment. I'm pretty sure there's another place. It's called the Garage or something, right? The Garage on Motor Avenue or something in LA. That's the new 49ers bar. But I was in the San Francisco saloon back in 2019 when Jimmy Garoppolo did his thing against the Saints. And now Mac Jones, another 49ers number 10, did his thing against New Orleans. All right, I'm happy to answer some questions. I think we covered a lot of it. I can't wait to watch some tape. And the 16 points in the first half is a nice tribute to a state where Joe Montana won one of his Super Bowls, and the stadium too. I mean, 55-10 over the Broncos. I think that's a good point. That was also Mac Jones's 23rd pass of the first half, and it went to 23. Christian McCaffrey to put 16 points up on the Saints over the first 30 minutes. Did Brendel play a pretty good game today? I haven't watched the tape yet of this game. Haven't had a chance to. I've been working too hard, so I will let you know after I watch. That's going to be in tomorrow's show. But I thought that the 49ers handled the pressure and some of the blitzes well from the Saints. I mean, they gave Mac Jones platform to throw for 280 yards, and he was efficient today. And the strip sack wasn't the O-line's fault. Mac even said that he held onto the ball for too long. Josh says that Kendrick Bourne looked good. Solid return. 3 catches, 32 yards. How was Juice looking after? We're not allowed to talk to players who had concussions. That's an NFL rule in the locker room, but I did see him, and he was walking around there in that locker room. So that's all I can say about Kyle Juszczyk. But that was a big loss for the 49ers. They were going to be pretty dependent on Kyle Juszczyk today. Is Brock coming back next week? You heard it's possible. It is possible. It's just going to depend on how the toe continues recovering. I will say this. He's in a lot better position than Joe Burrow, who might even have to have surgery. So Joe Burrow was really in a bad spot with that turf toe that was suffered today. Brock might be back as soon as next week. I think the latest that he'd be back at the rate this is progressing is for the Jacksonville game. I talk about 49ers money. I was going to call this show 49ers money. I ran into Tim Ryan. I told you guys the story in the reaction. And, he said, this is socking money away in the bank for the 49ers. You rack up wins. You're not scoreboard watching at this point. You're just racking up wins, as many wins as you can. And if you can do it even when you're shorthanded like the 49ers were today, all the better. Now that you've socked away 2 wins on the road between Seattle and New Orleans, you go home for Arizona, where the 49ers are 1.5-point favorites next week. And then you have another home game against Jacksonville. You're probably going to have Brock Purdy back for at least one of those 2. But even if he's out next week and you lose, it's not the end of the world, especially because you were able to win today and these 2. You'd be 2-1. But I think that they can win next week just based on the energy level and the trajectory of this team. Again, 1.5-point favorites at the moment. Now, one thing that's interesting in the longer strategic chess match as we go through this season is that the 49ers only managed 3 yards per carry again today. They were only at 3.3 last week. I talked to Trent Williams about this in the locker room. This is actually a big part of my piece, which is up on the San Francisco Standard. This is why you should read this. So we got Trent wasn't expecting to play. Then he said, I'm going to play. I'm going to support my teammates. He told Mac Jones to go hoop. I mean, a lot of good quotes from Trent, but one of the things he said was no run game is going to be better than spotty against consistent 5 or 6 man fronts. That's what the 49ers have faced over the first 2 weeks. But they still have to run to maintain that threat so the defense can't tee off on their pass game. That's how you protect the quarterback, especially within the context of this system. Well, the thing is, though, that Brock made the Seahawks pay for playing the run too hard in week 1. Mac made the Saints play for playing the run too hard in week 2. At some point, I don't know if it's next week or the week after, or we have to wait till October. At some point, the 49ers are going to see a lot more nickel than 5 and 6 man fronts. They're going to start to see lighter defensive lines because they're going to have to defend the pass. And when that happens is when the 49ers can really start pushing the ground game consistently. So I thought that the 49ers played better up front today than they did in week 1, but their performance in both weeks 1 and 2 has been colored by the fact that they're facing a ton, and I'm saying a ton, of 5 and 6 man fronts. So it's the job of the QB in the pass game to force defenses out of those heavy fronts. And I think the 49ers today, what we saw from Mack is a step in the right direction. What we saw from Brock Purdy last week was also a step in the right direction. Any comment on Colby? He balled out and no one really saw. I haven't watched the tape yet, but I will say that it seems that the run game picked up when Colby went in there. Now, I'm not going to go out and say it was because of Connor Colby, but he did a good enough job to allow that 49ers offense to keep on moving over the course of this game. I predicted months ago that Connor Colby would start at some point in 2025. So is that close to happening now? Maybe Barch left this game in a boot. So Connor Colby might be starting by default next week. So maybe the prediction comes through by 2025. I made that prediction simply because that's how the NFL works. You're going to need your depth, especially up front. And somebody like Connor Colby played so many snaps at the University of Iowa that I thought, okay, this is a guy that can help the 49ers sooner rather than later. Any comment on the 49ers secondary and pass defense? I thought Renardo Green got beat a couple. He needs to turn his hips quicker on some of those deep balls. Marquise Siegel got beaten a couple of times. You know, the touchdown to Juwan Johnson, he's 6'4". Marquise is 5'11". So this is what the 49ers are doing defensively. And we talk about it so much about their strategy, right? They have built a defense. They drafted fast, strong guys like missiles this offseason. Upton Stout, Nick Martin, Marquise Siegel are 3 great examples for the back 7. However, all those guys are relatively undersized relative to compared to their positions, right? So guys like Nick Martin, Upton Stout are had the most bench press reps of anybody at their respective positions. They're strong, but they're a little bit shorter. Upton is 5'8", Marquise is 5'11". There was a matchup disadvantage that the 49ers were definitely at the mercy of, and the New Orleans Saints picked on when Spencer Rattler threw that fade to Juwan Johnson, 6'4" against 5'11". That's the type of play that if you find the mismatch is going to give the 49ers some trouble. Now, the way that Robert Saleh is counteracting this is by introducing Jair Brown back into the lineup at big nickel. I actually think that Jair, they didn't get that exact matchup because I don't think that the package is evolved enough yet, but it will be at some point. I would say that on a fade ball, Jair Brown is going to be a better matchup against Juwan Johnson or a player like that than 5'11" Marquise Siegel, than somebody like Malik Mustafa, who also isn't very tall. So that's why the 49ers are trying to diversify and use all of the talent on their roster and find spots for Jair Brown, because today we saw a very, very obvious use for him. You know, I talk about these games being decided in very pivotal junctures. Let's talk about the breaks that the 49ers got early. The Saints, they came out, it looked like a 10 a.m. game for the 49ers. It was. It looked like they were sleepwalking on defense on that first drive. New Orleans missed a touchdown opportunity. Chris Olave was wide open on the Renardo Green side. So I think Renardo still needs to polish up some of his game early this year. But Chris Olave was wide open. He dropped it. It was a throw behind him from Rattler, but he still should have caught that football. And then the Saints missed a field goal. If either of those two things go the Saints' way, it's going to be a different result. But tough luck for the Saints. They didn't go their way. And credit to the 49ers for taking the breaks that they were afforded and making good of them. Mack was a little nervous on his first drive. It wasn't. I think it was Tonjes that he was thrown to on the out pattern. Was a little bit behind him. Wasn't a good throw. But Mac quickly settled in. He had to because the Saints were playing such aggressive run defense. 49ers went up 9-0, and they actually led this game wire to wire. And I think it was a very, very strong team flexing performance for San Francisco. What's my opinion on RB2? I thought that Brian Robinson I thought he looked more comfortable in the system today, by the way. I mean, Brian, let's see the stats here. He had 20 yards, but he only carried the ball 6 times. He had a 7-yard carry. It wasn't a heavy run game for the 49ers by virtue of the fact that New Orleans was playing a lot of those 5 or 6-man fronts. Who do I think Malik Mustafa will replace when healthy? That's a tough question. See, if you would think maybe Pinnock, but I think that by the time he's healthy, somebody else might be hurt. That's what you always have to count on. Don't try to answer questions like this. I shouldn't have put this up here, but for the sake of discussion, there's no reason to answer this right now because Malik is not coming back right now. Answer it once Malik is coming back, and your situation is probably going to be very, very different at that time. Like in Tonjes more each week. Tonjes had 4 catches today. 4 catches, 31 yards, really athletic. Had a holding penalty today, but yeah, the guy's a good player. And this is a great opportunity over the course of the next 3 games for Tonjes and Luke Farrell and maybe even Braden Willis to make some noise because George Kittle's going to be out for at least that long on injured reserve. I did an interview with Feliciano. He wants to get back into things. We shall see how that progresses. Thank you for watching the channel. I appreciate you. I have discussed Connor Colby potentially staying in the starting lineup. Yes. He probably will if Ben Barch is in a boot right now. I would think that it's likely that Connor Colby is the starting left guard next week. Kyle is winning with half the starters out and clowns are still mad at him. Are you kidding me? There's people upset over this win. Well, people are upset over Kyle Shanahan winning another game with starters out. I think that we need to play Kyle Shanahan's victory speech again.
Hey, guys, hell of a game, man. Hey, you talk about all 3 phases contributing and being a part of that win. Like offense into the second quarter. All right, finishing with a TD. Big time. All right, we come out, we turn it over. You guys get it right back. All right, Fred, you get that big turnover. Yeah. It only counts if we score. I think, JJ, you got the house call on that drive, 40-yarder. Hey, guys, also, can't say enough about teams, man. All right, those 2 punts at the end, Timo, big time. All right, 2 times that we had to pin them back. I think one was at the 10, one was at the 6. They had to go on a long drive to finish it. All D ball, but who was the finisher? Huff?
Hey, man, the great team win. I appreciate y'all boys. Let's keep going.
Hey, normal week, and we're going back home. Hey, playing the Levi's.
So the best part of that, you see it in Shanahan's eyes. He looks relieved. He looks like he's having fun again. Somebody said that Shanahan is happy he doesn't have to micromanage the defense anymore. Possible. I think that, Robert Saleh helps you rest really, really easy compared to the last couple of years on that side of the ball. Any more questions? We are in New Orleans. I would really like if people signed up for the San Francisco Standard. I worked hard on this article from the Superdome today. This one was a lot of fun. Speaking of this, let's just go through some of this. There's so much good stuff that was just floating around in that locker room today. I open up. Mac Jones strode through the tunnel of the Superdome. Finally donned that golden 49ers helmet and uniform. ahead of a start for the team that considered drafting him back in 2021. Talk about full circle, right? They weren't going to draft Mac Jones. They considered it, but they picked Trey Lance instead. And I said, it seemed like destiny, but in an epically roundabout way, because it was Kendrick Bourne, of all people, who accompanied Jones with purposeful strides toward the field. The same Bourne who'd left the 49ers in free agency, went to the Patriots, and linked up there with Mac Jones. Jones and Bourne had 119 completions, 1,477 yards, and 10 touchdowns together in New England. So those are the two guys that walked out there. And Jones cracked Bourne up with a joke. And then Bourne got cracked up again when he saw his guy, Mac Jones, dancing as part of the boombox. I mean, you can't script this stuff. Those of you who watch 49ers football, followed the crazy off seasons, the fact that Mac Jones is now in 49ers uniform and he's throwing to Kendrick Bourne after they connected for 1,400 plus yards and 10 touchdowns in New England, and they're both dancing behind a boombox coming out of a tunnel in the Louisiana Superdome, the same stadium where Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 400 plus to outduel Drew Brees wearing jersey number 10. Mac Jones is now wearing jersey number 10, and he's throwing to Kendrick Bourne, who caught a touchdown from Jimmy Garoppolo back in 2017. The fact that that's all come full circle, they're back at the Superdome and they win another dramatic game to go 2-0 in the year 2025. I mean, who's writing this script? It's preposterous, right? I mean, the boombox too. I mean, the personalities. It's all really cool, and each of these teams has its own personality that develops and blends with years past, but becomes its own. But the history does echo. That's what makes covering this so fun. And as I mentioned earlier, I posted that video of Kendrick Bourne. I'm so happy to be back, and I couldn't help but notice who liked the post. Deebo Samuel himself. All right, everybody, go check out the San Francisco Standard. Thanks for watching. I'm about to go. I don't go to bed. It's 11 o'clock here in New Orleans. I'm going to go watch game tape. That means I'm going to join you in the morning with my breakdown of the game tape. 49ers beat the New Orleans Saints 26-21, famous score, 49ers history, Super Bowl 16, and obviously the Dre Greenlaw game. Speaking of 2019, Kendrick Bourne was on that team too. Deebo misses it. He liked the tweet. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Sign up for the Standard. Hit the subscribe button. We'll talk to you soon.